Hey, boys and girls, it's Miss Bone here. And if you are viewing this, it might be because you need just a little bit of help remembering how to create those line plots that we worked on a while ago. Today, you're actually diving into perimeter and maybe even a little bit of area. You're going to be adding some sides together. But then, as we know, when we collect all these pieces of information called data and we see that there's a whole bunch of rectangles that have a perimeter of 10, then you can put all of that data on a line plot to keep track of it for yourself. So even though today's lesson, as you can see on my screen, is all about looking at constructed rectangles, really what we're going to do with that information when we look at those constructed rectangles is put it on a line plot. Okay, so not only is it a geometry lesson, it's also a data lesson. Okay, so as you look at our slide that I'm sharing, there are some manipulatives down here. They've already got the X's for you to put on your line plot. Remember, however, if you don't like to click on those X's and move them around, I know I have kids who get frustrated. They click on the X, then they move the picture and the X doesn't move. And they're like, oh my goodness. Remember, you always have that scribble tool up here if you need. If you go to the line and you go to scribble tool, then you can just make your own X. Well, maybe see, now Miss Bone's going to get frustrated because it's all moving around. Click on that scribble tool again. There we go. Now I make my own X. Okay? And click out of it. So if you don't like to move the X's around, you can use your scribble tool. However, that scribble tool can be frustrating too. So you get to choose. Whichever one helps you put the X's on the line plot, you use. Okay? Okay, so this can be a little bit confusing because there are so many numbers in our data table over here. Not only do we have our perimeters, but we also have how long each of the sides were. So I want to just kind of, let me annotate here and show you how to sort of keep track of how many X's you're going to put on your line plot. So it says you want to put the number of rectangles that have a given perimeter. So you say to Ms. Bone, which I'm sure many of you are saying, Ms. Bone, I only see perimeters and sides up there. What do you mean put the number of rectangles? Well, let me annotate my screen. This is a rectangle that has a perimeter of 10, but this is also a rectangle that has a perimeter of 10. If a rectangle has one side that's 3 and the other side that's 2, we all know rectangles have 4 sides. So it's going to have another side that's 3 and another side that's 2. So even though over here it's saying to plot your number of rectangles, keep in mind, these are the rectangles. A rectangle that has sides of 3 and 2 is going to have a perimeter of 10. A rectangle that has sides of 4 and 1 is going to have a perimeter of 10. So we ask ourselves then, how many rectangles had a perimeter of 10? 1, 2. A rectangle with sides 3 and 2 and a rectangle with sides 4 and 1. So we're going to jump over here. Let me get out of my annotation on my shared screen. I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to grab one of these handy dandy X's down here. Oh, see, I'm already dragging something else. Make sure my little box is inside there. And I'm going to put 1 X on 10. Then I'm going to jump back over here. I'm going to grab myself another X. And I'm going to put another X on 10 to show that there were 2 rectangles that had a perimeter of 10. Okay, so now we're on the next piece of data, which is perimeters of 12, rectangles with perimeters of 12. So remember, you might say, Ms. Bone, I go over here, I see 3, I see 3, I see 4, I see 2, I don't see rectangles. Yes, you do, because your perimeter here, try a different color. Your perimeter here is 12. However, your data shows that any rectangle that has one side of 3 is going to have another side of 3, is going to have another side of 3. That's going to be that square. That's also a rectangle, right? A rectangle with a side that's 4 and 2 is going to have a perimeter of 12. And a rectangle with a side of 5 and 1 is going to have a perimeter of 12. So, boys and girls, how many X's should we be putting on our line plot? I can hear you thinking. That's right. You are right. If you said 3, you are so right. So I'm going to jump over here, grab those handy dandy X's that are already so nicely made for me. And if they're not working, then I'm going to make my own X's with the scribble tool. But they are working pretty well for me right now. So I'm going to go grab one more X and drag it on over to the line plot. Therefore, so far my line plot shows that 2 rectangles had a perimeter of 10 and 3 rectangles had a perimeter of 12. I feel like you all might be ready to put on this line plot the data with all the rectangles that have perimeters of 14, 16, 18, and 20. What do you think? Are we ready? Remember, the sides over here show you how many rectangles have that perimeter. I know you guys can do this. Good luck, boys and girls. Have fun making those line plots.